Above the ground, another presence makes itself known. During the chaos, Phoenix Man makes his way onto the surface and attempts to sneak away. Boros notices him, but doesn't bother to pursue the small fry. And so the bird monster is successfully able to escape the battlefield. At the same time, Rover stands up and shakes off the rubble he'd been covered in after crashing through several buildings thanks to the alien's attack. It notices Boros and, trembling with fear, runs away.
Huh. That thing is pretty durable. Might make a good pet for me. I hope you enjoyed your time at the top, because it ends now.
Suddenly, Platinum S lunges at Boros and plows his fist right into the alien's face. The Dominator of the Universe lets out a big grunt and is sent flying backwards. Furious at the alien's trash talk from before, S doesn't waste a second and charges at Boros again. He catches up to him and delivers a furious elbow to the eye on the alien's chest, shoving Boros into the ground with enough force to blow away several nearby buildings. Platinum then grabs Boros by the face and runs at top speed, dragging the alien through the ground for several kilometers before throwing him into the air. S jumps up after Boros and knees him in the back before punching him back down to the ground. Not done yet, he rockets at the alien and lands his feet on his stomach, creating a huge crater and making the Dominator of the Universe cough up blood. Satisfied for now, Platinum S jumps back and lands gracefully a few meters away from Boros before crossing his arms and putting on a sinister smirk.
How's that for a challenge?
At the same time, deep below the ground, Psychos continues her search for Orochi when she spots a pile of flesh, which begins making its way toward her. Boros lies motionless on the ground for a couple of seconds before letting out a massive laugh, which confuses Platinum S. The alien slowly gets back up to his feet, wiping the blood off of his mouth.
Yes, that is more like it. You are the opponent I've been seeking.
He laughs again in pure joy before loosening the grip on his power and letting his aura run wild as he powers up. Seeing this, Platinum S gets into a fighting stance.
Very well. This is going to be the perfect chance to test out my new power. I just hope you last long enough for me to stretch my muscles.
Suddenly, the standoff is interrupted when Elder Centipede rockets out from under the ground and lunges at Boros. The alien had almost forgotten this thing was still here. He prepares to defend himself, but the insect suddenly freezes. A green glow surrounds his body and begins crushing it. What is going on here? The green-haired Esperer descends from the sky, having just arrived to the battleground. She clutches her palm and at that moment, the force crushing Elder Centipede increases greatly. Its armor starts cracking and soon its entire body is condensed into a ball the size of a small building. The monster dies almost instantly.
Class S, Rank 2, Tornado of Terror. What a surprise. Class S, Rank 2? That means you're strong, right? The second strongest in the Hero Association? This must be my lucky day. Things just keep getting better and better.
Before anyone can say or do anything else, a massive wave of energy bursts out of the ground nearby, destroying a huge portion of the city. The ground shakes as massive tendrils emerge from the Monster Association hideout and dig into the earth. A giant Psychos rises out of the ground, followed by the ginormous monster portion of her body. Tatsumaki, S, and Boros all look on in shock. Where in the world did this thing come from? Boros feels something familiar about the creature. The energy coming from that thing resembles... Orochi?
Boros, where are you? We have a score to settle!
Orochi shouts out, the fusion between the two monsters seemingly having kept Orochi's memories well enough to hold a significant grudge against the alien.
Well, sure seems like someone has a target on his back.
Platinum S smirks while looking at the newly formed entity in the distance. He turns to face Boros again, but just as he does, he feels the alien's fist crash into his cheek.
Here, let me repay you for earlier.
Boros laughs as he starts pummeling the monster and sends him crashing into a building. He prepares to follow up his attack, but before he can, a green aura surrounds him, freezing him in place. Tatsumaki points her finger upwards and lifts Boros high into the air. The Esper prepares to start crushing the alien. Further away, Sairochi is still looking around. Suddenly, she spots the alien floating in the sky a couple kilometers away from her. Taking this opportunity, she extends both of her hands in front of herself. "Found you!" she shouts as he fires off a massive beam of energy. Hearing this, Boros attempts to turn around, but to no avail as Tatsumaki is still holding him in place. He tenses up his muscles, lets out some energy, and breaks free of her hold. He then turns around to look at Sairochi. Once he does, all he sees is a ginormous energy beam quickly approaching him. Realizing that he can't dodge an attack this wide in such a short amount of time, the alien raises one of his arms in front of himself. The beam crashes into the palm of his hand at full force. Boros grunts as he attempts to block the entire blast. He feels his hand getting singed and lets out a roar, pushing back against the energy. Tatsumaki watches from the side, amazed that the alien can take so much energy head-on and not be instantly disintegrated. Her amazement is quickly interrupted when Platinum S bursts out of the building he'd been launched into and lunges at her. With no time to spare, the Esper dodges to the side and counters by picking up several buildings with her telekinesis and sending them flying at Platinum S, who smiles and punches them all into pieces before resuming his attack on Tatsumaki. Sairochi stops firing her beam. As the dust settles, Boros is revealed with his right arm missing.
Pretty impressive, but now it's my turn.
He regrows his arm, lands on a building and jumps off of it, aiming to get closer to his new enemy. At the same time, Tatsumaki flexes her psychic power by pushing Platinum S back and launching him at Sairochi. Psychos grows several dragons from the base of her legs and begins rapid-firing lasers in Boros' direction, destroying huge parts of the city below. The alien speeds up until all that can be seen from him is a flash of light and dodges all the beams. However, Platinum S, unprepared, almost gets hit by one of them.
What the hell? Aren't we on the same side?
He shouts to Psychos, who can't hear him over the sound of her beams destroying everything around her.
Fine. You wanna be another bug I squash on my way to become the Monster King? Be my guest.
Tatsumaki realizes that Sairochi's attacks have enough range to reach other cities and figures that she needs to deal with her now. Meanwhile, deep below the surface, deeper than even the mural of God, something awakens. A creature far larger than anything the Hero Association has ever seen. It receives an order from an otherworldly presence and begins to make its way to the surface to fulfill it. Psychos, seeing that all three of her foes are now trying to attack her specifically, figures that she needs to create as much wide-scale destruction as possible to hit all of them at once. And so she fires off her biggest laser yet, aiming to hit all of her enemies with it. Tatsumaki can sense the energy being built up and is able to get out of the way right as the beam fires. Boros and Platinum S don't have that luxury, but their speed is enough to get them out of the way as well. The laser slices through the crust of the earth and shaves a continental disk off the face of the planet. The power on display shocks Platinum S and Tatsumaki, who begins questioning where all this power could have come from. It even shocks Psychos herself, and she begins to marvel at her own ability. The continent crashes back down onto the ground, causing massive tsunamis and shaking the entire northern hemisphere. Boros is elated.
Yes, this is more like it. You're clearly far stronger than Orochi ever was.
He shouts as he jumps up, aiming to land a punch on Psychos. Before he can follow through with his attack, the ground starts quaking as a massive creature shoots out of the earth. An absolutely monstrous centipede rockets straight at Boros from underneath the planet's crust and smashes into him, sending him flying back to the ground next to Platinum S. Elder Centipede?
No, I am Sage Centipede. I have been sent here by our father, the Earth, to help you destroy the abominable fist that's turned against God.
God? You know about him?
I know more than you, but that's not what matters right now. The two of us are to destroy the alien that's been giving you trouble.
Hearing this, Platinum S lets out a chuckle.
Man, you have a talent for making enemies, don't you? The more the better.
Boros laughs as he gets back up to his feet and dusts himself off. He looks up at the two behemoths before him with a wide grin on his face.
I do not know where you creatures keep coming from, but I won't complain. This planet is so much fun already. And you do not belong here. This planet is about to erase you from existence, alien.
Without wasting any more time, Sage Centipede begins rapidly marching at Boros, and by extension at Platinum S as well, who is standing right next to him.
Hey, Boros, let's team up for now, shall we? Take out all these clowns interfering with our battle and then have a glorious 1v1. What do you say?
Boros turns to the monster.
You really think I would take an offer like that?
The alien suddenly punches us in the face, sending him flying. A moment later, he turns to the charging centipede and extends both of his arms in front of himself. He opens the palms of his hands and plants his feet firmly on the ground.
You're not even going to dodge?
The insect monster charges at the alien at full speed and swings its massive mandibles at Boros. The dominator of the universe smirks. He catches the enormous blades with his hands as Sage Centipede smashes into him. The speed and momentum of the charge pushes Boros back several hundred meters, but the alien stands strong and soon he's able to stop the march. The insect grunts as he attempts to close his mandibles on Boros' waist to slice him into two. But try as he might, the alien doesn't budge an inch.
What's wrong? This can't be all you've got, can it? You insignificant insect!
Boros prepares to counterattack, but just as he is about to make his move, a giant beam of energy crashes down on him from above and knocks him away. Sairochi has lent a hand to her new ally, but she is soon forced to turn her attention elsewhere when Tatsumaki lifts several giant rocks into the air and hurls them at the monster. Suddenly, Platinum S jumps up at the Esper from the ground and wraps his head tentacle around her leg. He spins rapidly and throws the Esper down to the ground before lunging at her with a kick. Tatsumaki, using her psychic powers, is able to stop herself from crashing into the city below. She notices the monster's attack rocketing at her, and, at the last second, is able to fly out of the way, leaving S's kick to smash into the ground. The force from the kick cracks the ground in a several hundred-meter radius, and whatever buildings are still there crumble. If that kick had hit her, Tatsumaki shudders at the thought. She raises her hands to attack S, but notices Sairochi launch a massive beam at her from the side. The Esper is forced to put up a shield to protect herself, but at the same time, Platinum S lunges at her again. Enough! Tatsumaki shouts out, and a massive green aura surrounds her. She raises both of her hands into the air, and everything around her begins rising. The Esper puts all her power into one massive feat of power. Buildings crumble and the ground shakes as the entire city is lifted thousands of meters into the air. All the debris and the sheer force of the move knocks Platinum S and Sairochi's beam away. The effects of the outburst can be felt by Sage Centipede and Boros as well, as the ground there is also not spared from the number 2 hero's rampage. Tatsumaki doesn't stop. She continues to show off her power as the ground rises further and further. The city is sent dozens of kilometers into the air, creating a bulge in the earth visible from space.
What the hell is going on? Tectonic movements? It's as if a new mountain is forming. You shouldn't ponder on such things in the heat of battle.
Boros punches the centipede in its face, cracking its exoskeleton. The monster growls in pain, but soon regenerates and attacks the alien with a centipede grand march, hitting the alien with his arms hundreds of times over. The attack actually makes the dominator of the universe feel a slight sting. Finally, he's feeling something while actually exerting a decent amount of power. Progress is being made. Meanwhile, Tatsumaki finally stops her rage-fueled outburst. In the end, a new mega mountain has been formed. A mountain that's as wide as a small continent and as tall as multiple dozen Everests stacked on top of each other. This new mega mountain shifts the face of the planet. The Esper lets out a sigh. She pants a bit and lands on the ground. This should make things a lot easier for her moving forward. She will not have to worry about stray attacks hitting other cities, as now the battlefield is high enough that stray beams will most likely end up flying into space harmlessly. However, she doesn't let her guard down. The Esper knows that her enemies are not down yet. She'll need a more direct attack to actually kill them.